I can't believe that this is my life. This is my first professional gig, my first film, the first time anyone paid me to act, and to get to do it with the likes of Steven Spielberg and Rita Moreno and Tony Kushner is just a dream come true.
Tonight is just, in a sense, at long last tonight, there has been tonight. There's been such an anticipation from all of us.
I think it's such an important story that's going to not only be told today, it's going to be told in the future. It's a story about love and how hate divides.
After 2.5 years since we wrapped and a year inside, it's very nice to have us all be together safely, to be able to enjoy the film and enjoy all of the work that we did. It's just absolutely incredible, and the energy is palpable in this room today.
In New York, right next to where I went to high school, I used to get off the subway at 59th Street and walk to LaGuardia, where I did musicals, where I learned how to do everything that I was so fortunate to learn, so I was able to win this role and do my dream job.
It's an early Christmas gift to so many of us. And it's also just iconic. It's West Side Story, and it was a dream to be included in Steven and Tony's vision for this film, and just to be able to see it fully realized and celebrate the work of so many people, because this was not just the work of one man, this was the work of an entire host of individuals who put their blood, sweat, and tears into telling this beautiful, authentic story, and I'm really excited to finally be able to share it with everyone.
The first feeling is gratitude and such an honor to be able to have been entrusted by the trustees and Stephen Sondheim to be able to, make our West Side Story. And tonight is just, in a sense, at long last tonight, there has been tonight. There's been such an anticipation from all of us, the whole company of actors and musicians and filmmakers and writers and choreographers, and we've just been waiting for this night.
We've been waiting so long for this movie to come out that it's just a magical night. I feel like we're all ready to celebrate all the love that we put into this film. And like I said, it was a collaborative process. Like, we were always collaborating with each other, making this story, this classical story, even better for all of you. So we're ready. We're ready to cheer and to share the love with you.
It's been a long time coming. Obviously, the past couple of years have been very challenging for everyone. And this, I know for all of us, and I can't speak for all of us, this was very special. It came from a real place of love. Certainly making it was an amazing experience. And I think after the past 2 years being what they were, we're very happy and grateful to be here, for sure.
It's been a long process because this movie was supposed to come out about a year ago, so here we are now finally getting to enjoy all our hard work and all the passion and just beautiful energy that everyone put into this project, so I'm very excited for everyone to see it today.
So obviously it's kind of been a long time coming, so actually being here tonight is just incredibly surreal. I'm low-key overwhelmed. I'm trying to keep it together. I mean, I have all my friends over here that I filmed it with, and it's just, I can't even describe it. It's just absolutely a dream come true.
It's incredible, and it's been so long coming that it's just great that we're all here tonight, and everything was extreme about making this movie. The extreme heat of the summer and the fun, but the struggle to shoot it on the streets in New York City, and then and then this extreme sort of wait to get here till tonight. But to be here, it's pretty great. It's wonderful.
It's been such a long time coming for us, and it's a project that has so much heart and spirit behind it, and so it's just the greatest thing ever to get to celebrate all together and be here in the same room and feel the energy.
It was such a labor of love, and the intensity that we all spent working on this, and to have to wait so long, and at the same time, almost the longer we waited, the more special this whole night is. So we're so grateful.
It's exciting. I'm excited to be here. I'm very excited that the movie is finally going to be out in the world. It's incredibly moving to me. I look across from you and they're like, oh, there's Justin Peck and Brian Darcy James. It's like we worked so hard on this movie. It's a giant musical and a giant film. And we had a very steep learning curve because none of us had ever made a movie musical before. It took everything that everybody could give.
I can't believe that this is my life. This is my first professional gig, my first film, the first time anyone paid me to act, and to get to do it with the likes of Steven Spielberg and Rita Moreno and Tony Kushner is just a dream come true.
I'm just thrilled to be a piece of this yet again. And I owe it all really to Tony Kushner, who's the one who thought of this, of making Valentina the one and only new character in an iconic movie.
Oh, it's fantastic. I first talked to Steven Spielberg about the property 5 years ago. So it's been a long time coming and a dream fulfilled. And Arthur Lawrence, whom I represent, had always said to me, make sure if there's a new movie done, that it's a real brilliant movie director, not a theater director who directs it. And also for a screenwriter to adapt his screenplay, which he knew was going to happen, get someone who's really smart. So when we got Steven Spielberg, check, and Tony Kushner, check, we were doing a good job. And they did an amazing, amazing job of telling the story, the essence of the original story, but through a 2022 now it will be, vision. So they've stayed very faithful to the essence of the piece, but you'll see it's a much more muscular, much less sentimental, and more of a retelling of the story in this day and age for our time. So it resonates in a whole new way.
It's a dream come true. Having just been around the show my whole life, loving the film, growing up in Hawaii, to then when I got into the business as a producer, I booked a national tour in 1995. I then presented it. I then did the Broadway revival in 2010 and got to work with Arthur Lawrence as the director, and just have always loved it and always felt the original film was wonderful, but it also lacked an understanding of the Hispanic culture as well and honoring it, given the time it was written and it was shot. And I thought if we could ever get a revival. And so Arthur Lawrence and I talked about it a lot, and he passed, but I then heard through the grapevine that, that the rights might be available, and I worked really hard, and Steven wanted to do it, and it was just a dream come true, putting it all together. And, so much of producing is when you have the right ingredients, get out of the way. And Steven and Christy and everybody, and Janos and every single department, Justin's choreography, and the estates were trusted us enough to let Steven and Tony Kushner play. And this film is what happens when you get great source material and make it for today. And that's what they did, and I'm just honored to be a part of it.
I think it's such an important story that's going to not only be told today, it's going to be told in the future. It's a story about love and how hate divides, and that's something that resonates with humans no matter what generation. So I'm glad we can bring it to this generation.
I feel like love overcomes everything, and that, if we start having more empathy and more respect towards each other, we can avoid so many negative things, hopefully that's the message that will come across, and we'll start creating a seed for a better world, and for more understanding each other instead of fighting each other.
If they haven't seen West Side Story before, it's an incredible show. So if you've never seen it, they'll be blown away. And if they have seen it before, as a fan of it myself, I was completely blown away, and I'm just excited for our audience to see it. Please bring your friends and family, and don't be afraid to applaud and stand up and be a rowdy crowd in the theater.
I remember the first time I saw the trailer, which was a while ago now, and it was really in the depths of last winter, I think, and I was just like, oh my God, that is exactly what I want to do. is just sit in a theater and just see like beautiful people brilliantly dancing and singing and celebrating life.
I'm really excited for them to see the depth that we've brought to these characters, the historical context that Tony Kushner has written. We were getting pages and pages of backstory, and we are just so lucky for that fact.
The dance numbers, the songs, I've never loved America so much. I mean, I love Rita Moreno dancing on the rooftop in the 61 version, but in this version, we go all around New York City, and people are tons of people dancing in the street, and it's just such great vibes.
I don't know if there's just one thing I'm excited for audiences to see, because this film is sort of like an emotional walloping and a joy explosion. You get to see Latin joy, which is so thrilling. You get to see brotherhood. You get to see love in all its different forms, brotherly love, sisterly love, romantic love, love at first sight, but ultimately it's the love that is the tie that binds. So I'm really excited for people to be reminded of that, especially now at the holidays, and we all are in a better place to be able to celebrate together in person. I'm really excited for the conversations that are gonna come as a result of people seeing this film. So it's really, really thrilling.
I'm excited for a lot of audiences to discover West Side Story. Again, our generation hasn't had this. To introduce this to a new whole world of moviegoers is going to be massive. But also, I just think there's a lot of surprises in this one. We are dealing with a new and different book. And I just think the depth and the richness of the characters in this one is something that's going to shock everyone. You really get to see inside this story from such a different perspective than we ever seen. So, I just cannot wait for people to see this film.
The dance. Because we have a new choreographer, original choreography, so I can't wait for you to see the dance.
I'm very excited for the audience to discover the Puerto Rican culture and the community that really stands out in this film, so I can't wait for that.
I think that I'm just really excited for them to see the energy that everybody brings to it, this new talent that we all have here. Everybody is so amazing dancing and singing and acting. It's all just so incredible, and to be able to say that I'm a part of it is just unbelievable. I mean, look around. This is absolutely wild.
The conversations that it brings afterwards, right? I think this is a complicated story. It's a complicated film, very nuanced. There's a lot of pieces that are going on.
It was a great challenge, so much fun, working with this whole team, Tony Kushner, Steven Spielberg, Stephen Sondheim, so many, just the greatest group of people to work with, and I felt so supported, and there were so many details. Tony Kushner gave us pages of backstory that never existed, these ideas of who these characters were, really fleshing them out. So, it was just a total pleasure and a lot of fun at the end of the day.
First of all, it was just great fun to work with Stephen on this and to develop it. Stephen wanted to shoot the movie on location. It's a New York story, and he wanted to be in New York, and he wanted to be on the streets in New York to the degree that we could. And so we kind of took that as our starting point and built it up from there. And of course, there were a lot of stage sets as well, and we cheated a bit and went a little bit outside New York to New Jersey for a couple of weeks. But it was amazing to do this film, this story with these wonderful folks on the streets and in the alleys, and it was really something else.
It was such an amazing experience, and I think we had the most incredible leader we could have, Steven Spielberg, putting everyone together, getting everyone together, and just it all trickles down from him. He came in with so much passion and love for this project, and we all felt that energy, and it was easy from then on.
It's incredible. I mean, from the beginning of my involvement in this project, it's been just this incredible sense of excitement and enthusiasm. And, I don't come from the musical theater. I come from the sort of more self-serious downtown theater world. And the first time I stepped on the set, I was just blown away with the incredible energy from the cast and Steven himself.
Steven came to me and asked that we recreate the world, the people that inhabited New York City in 1957, which is reflective of the original Broadway production. And that was right up my alley as far as what I do, and also all the work that I do in musical theater.
It was such a long, extensive process to put these dance numbers together. We worked constantly with Steven, the director, and Tony Kushner and our whole team to build them out and ensure that they had the right sort of storytelling about them. And then setting them on the streets in New York City was incredible, and also had its own form of challenges to it as well. I mean, dancing at this caliber on concrete and on pavement and, you know, up and down sidewalks is incredible and amazing, but also it's like a whole new skill set that the dancers had to learn on the spot.
I did not expect that I would have a song, but we brought back a song that was cut out of the play. I think, and it's soon after it opened, I think probably the play was too long, because somewhere this exquisite song.
What I can tell you is filming America in the streets of New York really allowed New York City to become a character in our film, and subsequently the number became a love letter to a city that I know I love so much. And I'm so thrilled that we had the opportunity to take our audiences into the Puerto Rican community in 1957 through this number. And I think it's just sort of, I don't know, it's the definition of a reimagination, a retelling, and it's fresh. I think Stephen Sondheim literally said on the Colbert Show, it's fresh. And I was like, yes, sir. I love that word, fresh.
Oh my gosh, could there be any other place better than New York to do this? I mean, it was so amazing shooting here. I've lived here for 13 years. I'm second generation Broadway performer. My mom did West Side Story. So truly, like, this is all so full circle to me to be able to be here. I mean, and that's why everyone rolled up to this one, is just so ready to celebrate West Side Story in New York City. What's better, honestly?
It's very special premiering it where the story took place, where those four geniuses wrote it and conceived of it in 1957. And here we are, literally half a block away from where we did all of our rehearsals in 2019.
It was amazing. It made it so easy to be like immersed in it. It made it terrifically easy to kind of get a feel for our environment. And it was also really awesome because, like, I live in the Heights right now, and we filmed some things that were like a couple blocks from my house, and it was really wild. And it's also like fun to like watch the movie and be like, oh my God, I know that park. You know what I mean? Like, it's incredible.
It's the perfect place to be premiering it. I see it as definitely a Valentine to New York City, and it speaks so highly of New York and all of its challenges, and also the beauty that comes out of that. So I'm really excited about tonight.
That was very immersive and quite a thrill, quite an experience, honestly. You know, I remember a handful of us, all the Jets, we'd be walking on 125th, and we turn the corner on Broadway, and you see nothing but blocks on end, and you're in 1957, hundreds of background, buses, cars, signage, everything, and you're just mind blown. Wonderful time.
Feels like sacred ground almost, the fact that there's so much history behind the entire West Side, you know, legacy, and it feels right to have it be in New York, and we're all just so excited.
It is a true gift to be able to be opening this film and to be doing it, you know, yards away from where the story takes place. You know, the Upper West Side is where this story takes place, and here we are in the heart of it, so it is a special night.
The songs I was brought up on, they're the songs that cultivated my love of musical theater, and so to be able to do it and hopefully revitalize them and bring them to a whole new generation of musical theater lovers is such an honor.
There's nothing better than musical theater, and quite frankly, movie musicals take that to the next level. So to be able to share these classic Leonard Bernstein tunes, these Stephen Sondheim lyrics that just literally soar and encourage us to like take in our own being and ask ourselves those deep questions, being a part of his legacy now, that is actually quite a thrill. But there's nothing quite like it. It's an exquisite thing to be able to bring art to the world in this way. And quite frankly, these tunes, they're catchy. And that's what makes them classic, is that you can't get them out of your head. I like to be in America, you know, one hand, one heart. There's a place for us, somehow, someday, somewhere. It's an honor.
Oh my gosh, and just like the way they all flow as well. I mean, all the iconic songs in this movie, but I think for me it's like when Dance at the Gym starts and you hear that rhythm start coming in and you just hear those iconic moments when you hear those little beats at the top of America. I mean, these are things that we've listened to since we were kids. These are iconic musical theater pieces, so it's just like to celebrate it on the big screen like this though, like our generation hasn't had this. So it's like so, oh my gosh, it's just like magical to have it now.
That was so nice to actually be part of the soundtrack and to go to the recording studio. We had Stephen Sondheim there with us. They unfortunately he passed away a couple of days ago, and having Steven Spielberg, having like Gustavo Dudamel, a live orchestra, and then like trying to put our little spice, like our own sound to these iconic songs. It was like, it's surreal. Like I'm still like pinching myself. Is this happening? It was great, and I feel like it's so amazing that the new generations can enjoy this this incredible story with a new vision, with a new cast, and with a new sound.
All of this, it's in the musical theater vernacular, I think so, to be able to adapt that with everybody and kind of, not necessarily build it from scratch. We obviously have the source material, but to sort of, do it with a little bit of a different flair, kind of add our own little spice to it. It's very, very exciting.
The new generation aspect, I think, is something that I love. It's because the dovetailing of audiences is going to continue with this iteration, and when you have someone like Steven Spielberg and Tony Kushner who are telling this story, retelling this story, it is going to introduce this musical to a whole new generation of people. And people's appetite and their familiarity with musicals and their desire to see it on screen, I think we're in a new phase of that being kind of something that people want, and especially younger people. So this is going to be an amazing opportunity for people to see it.
A lot of people, young people I talk to, have never seen the original film. Don't forget it was 1961. But even for those who have, this is a much grittier, more real production, and I think it's going to speak to young people and to people today, and still have all that glorious Leonard Bernstein music and Stephen Sondheim, may he rest in peace, lyrics, and Arthur's book, and Jerome Robbins' choreography, which has also been adapted by Justin Peck. So they'll have a whole new vision of this.
Oh my gosh, I mean, there's so many people that I haven't seen since we wrapped shooting. So just to be able to hug and celebrate this moment after all we've been through at this time, I mean, I just said earlier, like, the movie arrives right on time in the world, in our lives, and all of these things. I'm full of bliss and gratitude. Oh my gosh.
We were saying in the car ride down that we're emotional of the chance to get to experience that. It's something that's turned into this like rarity, right? So we're just now making return to that, and it feels so great to get to celebrate together in the same theater. Yeah.
When sitting in a room close to all these people that we know devoted so much of their love and hard work to making it, I feel like the energy is just going to be so palpable, and it's once in a lifetime experience tonight.
Good evening. Please welcome Executive Chairman of the Walt Disney Company, Bob Iger.
Thank you. Wow. This is not about me. Thank you very much. What an exciting time to be in this city at this time of year for this very special event. I know Steven Spielberg will be speaking in just a moment about Stephen Sondheim, but let me first acknowledge that tonight we are all bound together by the incredible talent of Stephen Sondheim. The words that he brought to the songs in this story have enabled it to be relevant, have enabled it to endure for over 6 decades. So, on behalf of the Walt Disney Company, we are privileged and deeply appreciative to be part of such a magnificent work. And I know that I'm stating the obvious when I say you don't even attempt to touch one of the most celebrated musicals of all time unless it is in the hands of a virtuoso director like Steven Spielberg. You will see that Steven's passion and respect for West Side Story will be evident in every single frame that he shot. Now, the film you're about to see was meticulously crafted, and the team Steven put together has done just an amazing job honoring the legacy of West Side Story. And so it is with great pride, with incredible respect, and great gratitude that I get to introduce Steven Spielberg, who I'm also blessed to call a very dear friend. Steven?
So, thank you all for being here tonight. It cannot be the night we've long anticipated because of the absence of Stephen Sondheim. His amazing lyrics for West Side Story first put him on the map and launched a career that would completely redraw that map, reinvent the musical and theater, and create a body of work that beyond any doubt is as immortal as anything made by a mortal can be. To borrow what Ben Jonson wrote about Shakespeare, Stephen Sondheim was not of an age, but for all time. And Stephen was a big part of the making of our film of West Side Story, from the earliest screenplay, drafts, to every recording session, which Steve attended without fail. Listening with his eyes closed, he'd sway, he'd swoon, or he'd grimace and flinch. So I caught myself watching Steve's expression, sometimes more than the actors, because they perfectly reflected what everyone was doing. He always deferred to our musical director, Janine Tesori. Janine directed all the vocal performances, but his insistence, like Janine's, was on telling emotional truths based on an understanding of character. You can get through any challenges presented by the complicated score, Steve said, as long as you know who you are and what you're feeling. And he and I became good friends. He was SS1 and I was SS2. And I insisted on that ranking. Our friendship formed around the work on West Side Story. It grew when I realized that Steve possessed an infinite storehouse of movie knowledge and trivia. He told me things like about his fondness for actresses with smoky voices like Ida Lupino and Glynis Johns, and how many different ways Margaret Sullivan had died in her films, imagining that her contract with MGM stipulated that she could never be killed the same way twice. Those were the details that never escaped Steve's notice, either on the boards or on the movie screen. And like everyone else on the planet who cares about words and music, I'm heartbroken at this sudden loss. But Steve is here with us tonight in the form of his great abiding genius in the glorious musical he helped to bring into the world 64 years ago. And he's also here in our gratitude for all the art and culture he left behind. Thank you, Steve. Steve was one of the 4 legendary creators of West Side Story. It was Jerome Robbins who first assembled the team to turn Romeo and Juliet into a contemporary musical, and Jerome Robbins' choreography revolutionized modern dance. Arthur Lawrence took Shakespeare's masterpiece and concentrated it into a riveting urban story. And then Leonard Bernstein composed a score so achingly beautiful and so emotional and so alive, it can only be heard and not described. And when Arthur Lawrence introduced Bernstein to this 24-year-old novice songwriter, Bernstein had the great good sense to hire him as his lyricist. Those four creators are represented here tonight by their estates. So please join me in recognizing, if you would stand, please, Alan Greenberg, Chris Pennington, and Ellen Soren of the Jerome Robbins estate. Please welcome David Saint and Jonathan Loma of the Arthur Lawrence estate, if you'll stand up. And personally, from their Uncle Stevie, Lenny's kids, Jamie Bernstein, Alexander Bernstein, and Nina Bernstein Simmons. And Rick Pappas, who worked so closely with Steve for so many years. Steve loves that you're here right now. So, you guys gave us permission as we set about to interpret the world of these four great artists, the world that they created. You were all active participants in the project, and our film exists only because you trusted us and believed in us, and we're deeply grateful for everything that you've given us. Thank you very much. Now, I'm also thrilled that in the audience tonight are several members of the cast of the monumental and inimitable 1961 Robert Wise Jerry Robbins film of West Side Story. So if you'll stand, please. Elliot Feld, David Bean, Burt Michaels, and the amazing Russ Tamblyn. Thank you. As Steve so often said, all art is collaborative, but there is no art form more collaborative than musical, and that includes a film musical. I have never worked with a more committed, more brilliantly talented group of people than the people I made this movie with, and I love you, and I admire you, and I am more grateful to you than I can possibly say. And I'd like to thank all of you if we had the time tonight, but let me please just mention a few. Producers Christy McCosco-Krieger and Kevin McCollum. Executive producers Daniel Lupi and Adam Sumner. Our choreographer, Justin Peck. Director of photography, Janusz Kaminski. Production designer, Adam Stockhausen. Costume designer, Paul Tazwell. And our musical gurus, Janine Tesori, David Newman, and Matt Sullivan. And our conductor, who is not here tonight, Gustavo Dudamel. And our screenwriter, who always is here for me, Tony Kushner. Then there's our equally gifted cast. Just stand up as I call your names. Brian Darcy James, who plays Officer Krupke. Corey Stoll, who plays Lieutenant Schrank. Iris Menace, who plays Anybody's. Josh Rivera, who plays Chino. Mike Feist, who plays Riff. Our Bernardo, David Alvarez. Our Anita, Ariana DeBose. And our Tony and Maria, Ansel Elgort and Rachel Zegler. And all the other members of our cast, Sharks and Jecks alike, who are here tonight, will all of you please stand up. Great. Thank you. Okay. And cut. While I'm listing indispensable people, I have to thank the most indispensable of all, who is my wife, Kate Capshaw. Because every time I said to her that this idea of mine of making a new film based on West Side Story was probably the craziest idea I'd ever had, and I need to have my head examined, Kate said what I most needed to hear. She said, "Get over it." She said, "Don't be scared. This will be a good thing to put out into the world. Keep going and lead with love." And finally, it gives me enormous pleasure to introduce my friend, my collaborator, our executive producer, and my Valentina, the one and the only Rita Moreno. So, thank you all for coming and sharing tonight with us. And thank you, Steve, for the hat. We all miss you.